Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day, thanks in a large part to our friends at the VFS School of Game Design. Thank you so much, Vancouver Film School. Today's rundown is dedicated to Sega Master System, who met me at the Pacific National Exhibition here in Vancouver the other day. I think it was in an arcade, and we were playing free arcade games, which was so cool. Thank you so much, Sega Master System. This rundown is all yours. Nintendo is making good on their promise to have more variety on the Switch, and we're even getting more heroes. Yesterday, during a special Nintendo Direct presentation, the company unveiled loads of new indie games coming to the Nintendo Switch. First up, developer Grasshopper Manufacturer announced an all-new game in their No More Heroes franchise. It's titled Travis Strikes Again, and as the title implies, will tell a new story that thrusts players into the role of the badass anti-hero Travis Touchdown, with the same kind of cartoony, cel-shaded visuals to contrast with all that gritty violence. The original No More Heroes was a cult favorite when it was first released on the Wii in 2007, and its 2010 sequel, No More Heroes 2, was also popular, so fans will be happy to see the series return on Nintendo's new console. Travis Strikes Again will land on the Switch next year. There were plenty of other cool titles unveiled during Nintendo's Indie Showcase. The new game Super Meat Boy Forever, a simplified sequel to the original Super Meat Boy, will launch next year on the Switch, as well as other platforms like the PC, PS4, Xbox One, and mobile devices. This might come as a bit of a surprise. When Forever was first announced, it was meant to be a mobile-only game, but developer Team Meat decided to expand it to other systems. Team Meat is also working on a Switch port of the original Super Meat Boy, which is slated to arrive before the end of this year. Next up, the retro game Shovel Knight, which was inspired by classic Nintendo platformers, is getting a new expansion called Shovel Knight King of Cards. No, it's not a digital card battle game. It's a new story campaign that, like the previous expansions, will let players take control of another villain from the main game, the Gilded King Knight. He'll have a unique set of moves and abilities that will make the expansion feel distinct from its predecessors, and players will get to explore 4 new worlds with more than 30 new courses. This will be the third and final expansion for Shovel Knight and will be included as part of the special Treasure Trove edition of the game. The King of Cards expansion launches next year. Those are the 3 biggest games from the event, and all told, Nintendo showed off no less than 17 new indie games coming to the Switch. When Nintendo first announced the Switch, they promised that it would have a greater variety of titles, particularly those from indie developers, so it's good to see them making good on that promise. Sony and Marvel aren't wasting any time getting the wheels spinning on the next Spider-Man movie. With a sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming scheduled to swing into theaters in summer 2019, Variety reports that Sony Pictures and Marvel are in final talks with the film's director John Watts to return, and they've already signed screenwriters Chris McKenna and Eric Summers to come back as well. Tom Holland is set to reprise the lead role, so basically this means the studio wants to reassemble the same creative team behind the first film to work on the sequel, which isn't a surprise given the positive reception they earned.
Good luck out there.
Spider-Man Homecoming is the highest rated film in the franchise since Spider-Man 2 was released in 2004, and Sony is hoping that the good reception will help drive interest in the next film. It will need all the positive word of mouth it can get because despite all the praise, Homecoming actually underperformed at the box office.
You guys are losers.
It made $737 million worldwide, which sounds like a lot, but is actually a little less than Sony had hoped, and when you adjust for inflation, is about the same earned by the last film, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was panned by critics. The box office slump could be attributed to audiences getting burnt out on Spider-Man, and it also comes amidst dropping film attendance overall. Hopefully, as Sony and Marvel keep making good Spider-Man films, it will help win back everyone. Before the sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming arrives, Tom Holland will appear as the web-slinger in Avengers Infinity War, which arrives next summer. The Warhammer universe has another rat infestation for players to take care of. Swedish developer Fatshark has announced Warhammer Vermintide 2, a new game that serves as a sequel to their 2015 game, Warhammer End Times Vermintide. Like the original, this one will be a first-person game where players are thrust into the dark Warhammer fantasy realm and will get to battle the rat-like Skaven creatures. Fat Shark says that there will once again be a heavy emphasis on co-op for up to 4 players with a variety of melee and ranged weapons at your disposal. No release window yet, and so far the game has only been confirmed as being in development for the PC, although the original was released on the PS4 and Xbox One a year after its initial launch. So we may be seeing the same thing with the sequel. The history of Game of Thrones could have been very different with a much heavier emphasis on the game part. With HBO's hit TV series based on George R.R. Martin's best-selling novels recently wrapping up its penultimate season, it turns out that there could have been a very different adaptation before the show kicked off. Obsidian Entertainment, the game developers behind big RPGs like Neverwinter Nights 2, Fallout New Vegas, and Pillars of Eternity, has revealed that they turned down the opportunity to make a game based on the books. In a new interview with Eurogamer, Obsidian co-founder Fergus Urquhart says that in 2005, 6 years before the show was made, publisher Electronic Arts approached them about potentially making a big AAA RPG inspired by the novels, but they weren't interested. The reason is actually very simple. Urquhart says that with the exception of a few dragons and zombies, the Game of Thrones realm doesn't really have very many magic users, which is something that they feel is necessary to make players feel special and powerful in a fantasy RPG. The books mostly rely on political intrigue and complicated schemes between normal people, which isn't something that translates easily to a video game. We can't help but wonder how things might have unfolded if Obsidian had taken them up on the offer. A big AAA Game of Thrones RPG could have easily changed the public's perception of the franchise and might have made the TV show very different if it was made at all. As it turns out, there have been several smaller games based on the show since it was made, the most notable being Telltale's episodic release, which is a story-driven adventure game. The 8th and final season of the show is currently in pre-production and is expected to premiere in late 2018 or early 2019. That wraps us up for the rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to learn more about game design, visit our pals at VFS.edu. We'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new episode for you. But in the meantime, check out some of the other content we've made, and if you like it, hit subscribe, okay?